Hey, Megamaniacs, it's Mr. MegaManFan. Like, share, comment, subscribe. You know all the things to do. So last night I only had time to unbox the PlayStation Portal and go through the initial setup. But now that I'm done with that and I've had some time to mess around with it a little bit, I can give you my thoughts on this device as a whole and whether or not I would recommend it. One thing that I'm going to make very apparent from the beginning is that you need to have a strong and stable Wi-Fi connection, and you're probably not going to be able to play this remotely. I believe I said that yesterday, but I'm going to make that even more apparent today when I explain something. There is no web browser built into the PlayStation Portal. So if you're playing somewhere like Starbucks or a hotel where they make you open a web browser and accept the terms and conditions, you're not going to be able to do that. So this is really intended to only be played at home on your home Wi-Fi network, or if you're really lucky, somewhere with a really good amount of broadband and a free open public Wi-Fi that doesn't make you log in or accept terms first. And I don't know where you're really going to find that, so don't expect to play this anywhere outside of your own home. And if that's what you thought the Portal was going to be for, you're probably going to be disappointed with that. The second thing I'd like to note, I don't know if it's as big of a drawback as not using it outside your home, or if you even consider not using it outside of your home a drawback. That's up to you. But the second is going to be that this can be a little bit cumbersome to hold after a while. I mean, it's ergonomically curved the same way the actual PS5 controller is when you're holding the grips, but with that big screen in the middle, the weight of it does start to bear down on your hands after a little while. It's not really a problem right now in this part of the video because I'm just getting the game started and I've got it laying down on a flat surface. But once I actually pick it up and get into playing Metal Gear Solid 3, then I can feel the weight of that screen in the middle. And it's not that this isn't something I'm not used to, because I've played plenty of portable systems that have a little heft to them, including the Steam Deck, and yet somehow, maybe just the center of gravity on this big screen in the middle, it just feels heavier in my hands than other things that I'm used to holding. So if weight is an issue, you might actually prefer using a backbone with an iPhone or an Android, because you can do all the same remote features that you can with the PlayStation Portal. The only downside is that at any time while you're playing, you can be interrupted by a text message or a phone call, and obviously with the Portal, it's not going to have any cell phone features built in, so that's not a problem. So if you want dedicated gameplay, the Portal is the way to go. But if you want a lighter, more comfortable way, pairing it with a backbone and using it as a controller with a built-in screen, that's the way to go there. So you have to weigh those options, and maybe your hands just won't get tired of holding it with a big heavy screen in the middle. But if you're playing an intense game and you're using all of the controls a lot, and Metal Gear games can be kind of intense, you may start to notice it after a while. But the good news here is all the controls work like they should. I'm going through all the different things that Snake is supposed to be doing here: zooming, crouching, walking slowly and carefully, trepidatiously so as to not alert anybody, crawling, zooming, circling, moving the camera, moving Snake, everything that I'm supposed to be able to do with a regular PS5 controller, I'm doing with the Portal. So you're not going to have controller issues, and at least if you've got a good Wi-Fi connection in your home, you're not going to be noticing latency issues. And that's why I thought it was important to try this with Metal Gear, because this has been a somewhat problematic port. Konami didn't do all of the things right when they released this Metal Gear Solid Master Collection. And so I felt like if I could really notice a lot of lag playing it this way, you would notice a lot of lag playing it yourself because there might be some lag built into the game to begin with. And I found this was a perfectly acceptable way to play Metal Gear Solid 3. And if I can say that, I can say it would probably work well for you. All the controls function as they should and are responsive on time the way they should be. The sound quality is pretty good as well. It's obviously not going to compare to being on a 4K HDR television with surround sound speakers, but I don't know if you were expecting that on a portable device anyways, so I feel like the sound that's coming out of the Portal is pretty robust. In fact, I usually have to turn it down a little with the volume controls that are on the upper right hand side next to the right analog half of the controller, so I wouldn't use this at full blast. Also, I turned down the vibration from strong to weak because it was really rattling my hands even more than the DualSense does, and I have to imagine that if you've got that cranked all the way up and or the screen brightness and or the volume all the way up, it's probably going to drain the battery a lot faster in the Portal. So your mileage may vary. I'm not giving you a battery life test here, I'm just saying turn those things down if you want to stretch it, because I even them they're turned down on my PS5 controllers as well, so why wouldn't I turn them down on the Portal? But if you want that authentic full tilt experience, it's gonna rumble and vibrate just as much as you're used to. Of note, the PlayStation home menu button is no longer centered on the controller. It's actually in the upper left corner next to my left thumb, so you're going to have to get used to that as well. And there's a mute button that you can turn on or off the LED for with the settings menu, and it will also control the voice activation function. If you want to say, hey PlayStation, and get it to open something for you, then that will be your voice microphone activator. And other than that, the buttons are the same. The sharing button is over on the left side. The menu button is over on the right side. There is one issue here that is very specific to one game that I play, and it's unfortunate because they don't let you remap the controls for it. So I really don't know how to resolve that with the PlayStation Portal. But I did test it by comparing it with the Backbone, and it controls the same way on both of them. So it's an issue specific to the game and not to the Portal, but I'm still going to show you the footage of it anyway and let you know that there may be other games like this particular game that will give you this problem. So here's the situation. There are some PS4 and PS5 games that make you use that touch sensor area in the middle of the controller on a PS4 DualShock controller. And if you don't have that on here, what are you supposed to do? Well, you can tap on the screen and the screen will show you a couple of bumpers that you can use like the ones on your PS4, but those don't seem to work right. Like when I do it on the Backbone on my iPhone, I can sometimes get in and out of the submenu in Shantae and the Pirate's Curse on PS4. If I double tap it, it seems to work most of the time. If I just tap the screen once, it doesn't seem to do anything. If I play the PS5 version, it's even worse. I only got it to work, I only got into the submenu once, which is where all your items are. And even then, once I got into it, I couldn't get back out of it. So yeah, I could go eat a lobster tail or a meat chunklet to restore Shantae's health, but then I couldn't go back from that once I had already done it. And what's the point of the submenu then? If WayForward had been thoughtful enough to include an option to remap the controls in either the PS4 or the PS5 version, this wouldn't be an issue. You could set any other button or any combination of buttons to access the submenu, but that doesn't exist here. and the portal is only going to make that worse instead of better. So in this case, I can say I don't recommend playing games that rely heavily on a submenu that you would access in that particular way, especially on PS4 games, because you're just not going to have a good time trying to get in and out of them. And the one other issue that I want to mention before I close this video is that sometimes when you previously put your PS5 into rest mode and you try to go back into it again after it's been in rest mode, it can take a really long time to find the PS5 or not find it at all. And I'm going to demonstrate that by adding some footage onto the end of this video. You can skip over it if you want, but if you want to see how long it can take to get a fresh connection after you've put your portal, after you've used the portal to put the PS5 into rest mode, you're going to see it here.